Hey, hey, hey! We are here to talk about it. I'm your favorite Big Mama 5.0, Nikki, and I have your favorite Auntie 5.0, Hope. And we are here to have these never avoid real conversations with you today. We're glad to have you with us. We are excited. We just want to dive right on in. We've been chopping up this conversation for some time. And so we're going to talk about toxic attachments. And what does that mean, right? And we're just going to have a dialogue on how we can get into toxic attachments. Where does it start? Why do we do it? How do we get out? I don't know. We're going to talk about it, right?
Right?
So let's talk about it. Toxic attachments. What you think, Hope? What's your definition of toxic attachments?
Well, for me, I think it's an attachment that is not healthy. One, not healthy for you, and sometimes really not healthy for your partner or whatever situation. It doesn't even have to be relationships. For some reason, we always talk about relationships, but hey, it could be a parent, it can be a child, it can be a siblings, it can be co-workers. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Oh, that's good.
Co-workers. Yep, you can have toxic relationships. You could be with your doctor when you're making so many appointments and you nothing's wrong with you. It can
Ooh,
be
that's
any kind of
good.
it can run any way. We just don't know because we're not exposed to that. But any relationship that we say is, that's over exerted, I feel, and things that are happening in it is
Mm.
not beneficial for you.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like it always would have to be um it's something that's continuously happening where it's
Hmm.
putting you in positions of not feeling good about yourself, not able to function, quote unquote,
Hmm.
normally, whatever your normal is,
Mm.
not able to express yourself in the way that you want to because you always feel like somebody else is going to have something negative to say. It
Hmm.
looks like a variety of things that could possibly contribute to the toxicness of it.
Yes.
So that's my version of what it could be, and also mostly feeling like you owe them something that
Mm.
you
Yes.
have to
Ooh,
be
that's
there,
good.
you have to give,
Have to
because
give.
you have to give. That's that feeling.
Supposed to give.
You, girl, don't talk about that supposed to.
Okay.
I
Let's
feel
talk about it.
supposed to.
Let's start right there.
Okay, then let's get to it.
Supposed to give. When someone says you supposed to do that, you supposed to give me that. You supposed to be like that. What is that?
First of all, we've had many conversations beside that supposed to.
Yeah, we
That
have.
word needs to be finished. It needs to be like, done away with in the English language. Actually, in any
Yeah.
language,
Yeah.
because truly nobody is supposed to do anything but
Mm.
live and die. That's what
Live
we
and die.
supposed to do. You have to do that,
Yes.
and supposed to be doing something is
Look,
what
my dad
you do.
says all I got to do is be black and die.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
Nobody, I mean, if you ask somebody to do something and they agree, yes, fine. But there shouldn't be any expectations put on anyone, especially if you can't do it. Me and my daughter was talking about this the other day. What was
Mm.
that purse called? A Birkin? What's it called? A Birkin bag. And
Mm.
she said the bag is like $34,000.
Yeah,
And it's
very expensive. So she said somebody was
$34,000.
supposed to get that for her.
We was just having conversations, and she was saying how some women would tell their mate, you need to get me that bag. You're supposed to get me the things that I want. $34,000 for a purse that's gonna sit on the shelf and collect dust.
Wow.
If you can't buy that purse,
Mm.
then you don't need to be putting demands on no one else. Because technically, I feel if you can't do it for yourself, then you can't ask anybody else. Now, don't listen. Let me just wind it back
Look,
some.
let's okay.
We
Let's
all
just
need help.
let's just slowly pull in the driveway.
Yes,
Here
let
we
me say,
go.
because I know there's gonna be something about that. We all need help at times. We all need assistance,
Yes,
at times. But
yes.
if there's the things that you desire and you really want, you shouldn't be looking for someone else to fill that want for you. That's how I feel, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And if
mm-hmm.
they do it on their own, then hey, that's their choice. But you
Mm,
shouldn't be putting these demands
that
on
part.
anyone, anybody. I don't,
Right.
even as a parent or even as a daughter.
Yes.
Shawnee was like, oh, my daughter was like, oh, mommy, as Granny was saying, anything you need, just come and call me, just come and call me. And Shawnee's like, mommy, I'm not calling grandma because I have two parents who I can go to and ask anything that I need. And
Mm-hmm,
if they don't have, then I'll turn to grandma. And I said, well, that's a good way to be. But
mm-hmm,
grandma is supposed to be a backup plan, a support
mm-hmm.
service. It shouldn't be
Or
one
when they want to.
when they want to. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to re-clear it again. Not to say that grandparents can't do for their grandkids, because
Correct.
they
Because
can.
they
There
can.
are some situations where grandparents are the parents,
Yes.
because of whatever that looks like. And there
Mm-hmm,
are some times where they have to step in because mom or dad
mm-hmm.
may be struggling with some things or whatever the case may be. Don't get me wrong with that. But if
Yes.
they have a strong stability, if they have a strong, stable environment, this is just for my household.
Right.
And, we shouldn't be, she doesn't want to lean on her like that.
Understood.
So getting back to the suppose.
Suppose.
So suppose I don't
Mm-hmm.
like that word at all. I just have a serious problem with that because being independent and
Mm-hmm.
trying to accomplish things that I want for myself, and there's nothing wrong with being independent and wanting things for your
It's
betterment of
not.
yourself. And I
No.
feel, let me park that for a second and say that we should not be punished for
Right.
wanting to be successful, for wanting
Correct.
to be able to have our own. It doesn't
Yes.
take away from the desires that we may
It
have
doesn't.
for a mate or whatever
It
that looks
doesn't.
like. It's not to say that I'm overpowering any of that. It's just
Correct.
for my
We are,
own
it's
excellence.
considered as an asset.
Yes,
You're
for
an
our
asset.
own excellence.
You
Yes, that's
just
it.
bring
But
it, you bring in more resources to the
exactly,
table to be able to do
exactly,
more things.
exactly. Because when I'm good, you good, and when you
Exactly.
good, I'm good. That's how I
Right.
see it.
Exactly. Exactly. But just that we're gonna touch on that in another episode. But that provider mentality kind of leans into what you said, and it looks so different depending on how we want to approach it. So we're gonna talk about that in another episode. But coming back to the suppose, right? I
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love what you've already said. You really touched on a lot of it because the reality is it almost feels like a yoke when you are telling somebody you're supposed to be this way or you're supposed to do this or you're supposed to do that. And it really causes the other person to feel as if one, they are not good enough for what you want or what you're desiring, or they may not be able to match up to what you're needing, or you may be unrealistic in what you are actually asking of them. It's important to enter into, if we're talking about a relationship dynamic between a man and a woman, it's important to enter in realistically knowing where your mate is, right? You can have aspirations. You can say what you want to have. I want a Rolls Royce, I want a Birkin bag, I want, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I want $50,000 in my bank account every month. I want to live in a seven room house with 10 bathrooms, with a 4-car garage, with a pool and an ocean view. I mean, all those things are wonderful, and there's nothing wrong with those aspirations. The question is, how are you positioning yourself to create your reality? Are you depending on another person to do that for you? are you actually becoming more of a predator or preying on someone that could possibly give that to you and you're looking at them as an opportunity? Are you trying to go after it yourself and create the reality for yourself?
Good
So the
question.
challenge that I have, especially with a male, a man and a woman, or in a relationship or a mate dynamic, what is your reason for being here? Because are you here because of what I can do for you? Or are you here because you're here for me? Are you here because I'm a come up? Are you here because you scope me out and you think that I can, provide you this fantasy lifestyle where we're constantly on 10, we're constantly, on vacations, we're constantly, buying stuff and going out to five-star restaurant. And I'm not speaking against any of that, but there is a certain threshold of income that comes along with that type of lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, who you got? Who it, is he doing that? Is he able? Is she able?
Right.
She
Right.
may have, or he may have, a place to stay, a home, a car, all those things, but they're not matching where you're trying to go,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of it's just such a space of, to me, unrealistic expectations.
Right.
Like,
But I would have to say it
mhm,
can be realistic, but the unrealism is when you have this thought in your mind or this idea,
mhm.
and the idea that you have, you're not relating it to them before you get into a relationship.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's good.
Because
Yes,
I
I
was in a
agree.
relationship, and he I mean, he made a lot of sense. And he said, what we have to start doing is you have to start vetting better. You have
Yes.
to start
Oh,
vetting
that's
better.
good.
You have to take a little more time in the vetting department. But
Yes.
you constantly, oh, he, she, yes, this is where I want to be, and hop in. And then 6 months later, in your mind, things are playing out, but you're not having. We, let me park that for a second. We
Hmm.
definitely have to work on our communication.
Very
You
much
know,
so.
you have to work on your communication. It's nothing wrong with saying what you want and desire in the
Absolutely.
beginning.
It is
That
not.
way, it's not so many heartbreaks. It's not
Correct.
so many bad situations.
Yes.
And you know that now, if you know
Mhm.
that that person is not going to give you what you want after the vetting, after
Correct.
the conversations,
Correct.
after the long talks, and you know in your heart of hearts that they're not going to be able to do it, and you stay.
Then you pretty much signed up for it.
Don't treat them like that.
Right.
Don't try and turn it now, because now you've had
Yes.
a change of heart. So
Correct.
if you've had a change of heart, do the right thing and say, this isn't for me anymore. I'm so grateful that we had the opportunity to be together. The things
Hmm.
I experienced with you was awesome,
Hmm.
but at this moment I think I might have to move on. You
And
know what
amazingly, what you said
I mean?
right there is really a healthy attachment. That's what a healthy attachment looks like, what you just said. But how many times do we really do that?
I know.
That's how it turns into toxic attachments,
Right.
because we don't communicate well. We don't put out what our expectations are, and we're not realistic. We want what we want, or we have come in with an idea of thinking that our mate is supposed to figure it out, or they're supposed to know what we want. Or we come in thinking, you supposed to take care of me. Like, why do you feel like you're not supposed to take care of me? You know, that's where the toxicity lies,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so what you just said is so healthy. That's so healthy. And in myself, I was like, how old was I when I was really able to have a real conversation like that? And when I did, I was fearful because I didn't want to feel rejected or
Mhm.
go through the emotional turmoils of maybe this person may walk away, or maybe this really isn't it, and I got to be okay with that. And
Exactly.
then, but I I thank God that I was able to be strong enough to do it
Mhm.
because I was better for it, right?
Right.
I might have felt weak in the moment or challenged in the moment emotionally, but at the end of the day, I felt better. I felt a release in my spirit about it because I was true to myself. I honored our relationship. I realized it wasn't what I needed or they needed, and we ended it.
Mhm.
And it was hard, but it was healthy. It was healthy. Nobody went away cussing and screaming and fighting and calling each other out their name and all this and that. It was a very amicable departure. So the question, and I think to myself,
Mhm. Come on.
ooh, how old was I when I finally got there?
Right now, let's be clear. Because I say I say that because let's just call a thing a thing. I
Yeah.
really wasn't I really didn't have relationship experience. Out
Mm-hmm.
of college, 4 months out of college, I got married.
Mm-hmm.
26 years old, had my first child.
Mm-hmm.
In a marriage for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, didn't really date. Only dated my husband. And so now coming out of that, being young, not really having a conversation, he was a little older than me, but we really didn't talk about stuff like that. We just talked about day to day things, what's needed for
Mm-hmm.
the house, what's needed for the baby,
Right.
what you need, you know, on a surface level of what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally when things didn't work out between him and I, and we went our
Mm-hmm.
separate ways,
Mm-hmm.
um, I was green.
Yeah.
Was green, and in um, some instances where I did end up with someone, it wasn't great. It really
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. But then when
Mm-hmm.
I started to experience it and I started to recognizing what I want, where I am, and this is
Mm-hmm.
where I really want to be. And I don't appreciate the way he speaks to me. I don't appreciate how he
Mm.
walks in and out when he wants to. I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
we start setting boundaries because now the light bulb has gone off and I'm like, hold up, this is
Hold on
really
now.
how I really want it to be. So saying all that to say, I was in
Mm-hmm.
toxic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I was even in some toxic friendships.
Yes. Ooh,
Um,
good.
some friends expecting you to do certain things, and
Yes.
I'm like, oh man, feeling like I have to do it because we're friends. We've
Right.
been friends for years.
Right.
Okay, let
Yeah.
it go. You can let
Mm-hmm.
it go. 20, 30 years. Hey, it was a great run. But right
Mm-hmm.
now, it's not for me. And it's okay to say it's not for me. It's okay to
Yes.
say it's not for you. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be comfortable. You said that. You definitely have to be comfortable in that space.
You do.
Recognize that. And being alone, we said before, being alone does not mean I am lonely.
Correct. Correct. And
Sometimes
that's the
a
part
loved
that
one
we wrestle with, right?
Yes,
Is it
that's
really it comes down to, what your core being is. And some of us don't like being alone. Some of us we struggle with that. So
Mhm.
we tend to attach and stay attached, and then the relationship becomes toxic because we don't leave when we should have left,
Right.
and now we stayed too long, and now we're dealing with extra stuff that we didn't really have to deal with,
Right.
because what that core thing, we don't want to be alone, so we make a decision to say, even though this is not the best thing for me, I'm not lonely, I'm not by myself, I got somebody, at least I got somebody, at
Right.
least I got a friend, at least I got somebody. And
Right.
so, but then you think to yourself, after you done lived long enough, and you kind of just have some experiences and seen some full circle moments, then you start wondering, is this relationship Is it really doing what I thought it was supposed to do?
Right.
Or am I still lonely? Do I still feel disrespected, even though they're here?
Mm-hmm.
Do I feel like I belong, even though they call themselves my friend? That's where the toxicity shows up, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
you start looking at, okay, well, who's really the toxic one? Is it me or them? Are they getting what they need? And if you can see if they're getting what they need, but you're not getting what you need, then who's the toxic one? Because in their mind, they getting what they need. So they don't see it as toxicity. You're
Mm-hmm.
the one that's not getting what you need. So that means your attachment is toxic. So
Exactly.
then you have to identify that and then make a decision within your own heart. Who am I going to choose? Me or the relationship
Mm-hmm.
or the friendship?
Mm-hmm. Family too. You throw
Family too.
everybody in there. Family.
Yeah, family
Oh Lord,
too.
you know, oh, but you stay in these relationships. Oh, but she my sister. She my sister. Listen, if your sister is
But your
bringing
sister
you down,
being
or your mother bringing you
disrespectful.
down, you just gotta say until we're able to work through what we need to work through. I can't see you, and and don't label it as that's my sister. I have to do it. I have to do it. No, if it's something that's not going to be healthy for you, break away, have that conversation. Sis, the things that you do, I don't like. I can't be around you.
Mhm.
We tend, and this is something that I definitely want to always keep in mind, that we any of these podcasts that we see on online, they always concentrating on relationships. But the
Mhm.
relationship meaning that a man, a woman, a woman, we cover all the grounds, whatever it
Mhm.
looks like to float your boat.
Yeah,
But it can be a bad relationship with your mother, your
it could be
father, like I said, your sister, your brother, your cousin,
co-workers.
uncles, co-work, boss,
Mhm.
your
Bosses.
bosses at work, the fear
Yes.
of losing your job, the fear of not getting the raise, fear of not getting recognition.
Mhm.
All of that plays a part in your,
All of that.
you know what I mean? Your day to day
Mhm.
walk. And then it starts to spill out in other areas of your life where now you like can't sleep at night. Let's just call a thing a thing. You can't
Yes.
sleep at night. You got all these pills by your bedside. You got anxiety. You got
Yes.
depression. You
And
got
it's
your
real,
hyperventilating.
y'all.
Didn't have
That's
asthma.
real.
Got asthma.
Yeah, that's
All of
real.
those things
You
will play
can't
a part.
breathe. You wonder why
Yeah.
your chest is closing up. That toxicity shows up in so many different ways. And
Yeah.
it's just imperative that we understand that. Your body tells you when things are not right.
Hmm.
And it may not be what you're eating. It may not be. It may just be who you have around you that's
Exactly.
making you sick,
Exactly.
that's causing you to have heart palpitations and having a bubble guts and
Hmm.
whatever else.
Right.
All of that shows up. All of those are out external ways of telling you something is not right,
Absolutely.
something is off, and you need to identify what it
Check
is.
in on it. You have to have self
Mhm.
check-ins. You have to have self
Absolutely.
check-ins
Self check
all
ins
the
are
time.
necessary.
You are important. You
You
know,
are.
you are
You
important. You
are.
have to take care of you before you can.
You are. You are just as important as the person that you're in the relationship with.
Absolutely. And then just to even sidebar that,
Mm.
when I say you're important, is
Yeah.
because now let's just take, I always like to give examples. And my
Mhm.
biggest example here is that when you're on an airplane
Mhm.
and those oxygen masks drop
Mhm.
down, the
Mhm.
first thing they said is put it
Look
on
on
yourself
yourself.
and then tend to the next person. Because if I don't pass
Mhm.
out, I can't help nobody else.
Exactly.
So put your mask on yourself, your oxygen mask and
Mhm.
oxygen mask,
Yes.
breathe.
Breathe.
And while you're doing that, then you can help someone else,
Yes.
you know?
And you can't give something that you don't have, which also leads back into that toxic attachment. When
Absolutely.
you are at a deficit, you can't even help yourself.
Mhm.
And you are continually injuring yourself when you are at a deficit and you're trying to give somebody else something that they said you supposed to give them.
Right.
You're injuring yourself.
Mhm.
And so by the time you figure it out and you get out, you have to take that time just to heal from what you just experienced.
Right.
Your whole nervous system is out of whack.
It's true. Can't. Yep. That's where it comes in there. You just tossing and turning. You up all night. Can't function. You got dark circles in
Can't
your
eat,
eyes. Can't.
getting breaking out in hives.
Exactly.
Look, in
Don't
the
know
in the
why.
bathroom because you can't get off the toilet because your stomach messed up.
Yep. That's a true thing. That
Hmm.
anxiety will work you in
It
all
will.
kind of ways. Sometimes you just sleep, 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 sleep.
Yeah, some people
You
do
know?
sleep where they don't want to deal, so they just check out and they just
Mhm.
sleep all day. That's a
Yeah.
whole nother topic,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know.
We're gonna park
But
that
yeah, that is that. I mean, yeah, it shows up so many different ways.
one.
So, really the goal of what we're trying to say in this part one, because we're going to continue this conversation. But for our part one, we just wanted to give you an insight of what this toxic attachment could look like, right? And
Mhm.
on our next episode, we're going to talk about how this shows up in a way where you can end up in um, you can end up in circumstances that can be dangerous, that could really mess with your mental psyche for a long period of time.
Mhm.
And you can end up being a supply to someone, and they actually groom you because of the fact that you really have not identified why you're showing up toxic, right? It can go so many different ways, but we're going to dive into that in part two of our toxic attachments. So make sure you join us. Never Avoid Real Conversations podcast. I am Big Mama 5.0, and we have your favorite auntie, Hope,
Mhm.
and Nikki. And we will see you on the next episode. Thank you for chiming in. And we look forward to talking to you next time.
All right.
Bye.